Family. 1, 2, 3, go.
Dickinson Stadium. The referee's final whistle. Everton 2, Brighton 0. Once again, thank you for your continued support on the city of the We'll see you here on the Wednesday half for Calvo for Action.
The back pass. There we go, that is full time at Hill Dickinson Stadium for the first time ever in the Premier League. Everton have won 2-0. 11 Ajay and James Garner with the goals. An amazing day, an absolutely amazing day to be at this place for the first time. Big competitive game. The players just milling around the pitch now. Yeah, an incredible day. The deserved win for the Blues as well. They were really, really good today. Just professional, did the job as well. And then our main fella, who was probably been maybe able to talk about a little bit last few weeks of John Big, but to do his business, he did. But I'm not going to say which more. Just listen to what this sounds like in our home. We are back outside the Derby Castle. Everton have won 2-0 against Brighton Hove Albion to start life at Hill Dickinson Stadium in the best possible way. I am joined by Mark Mose, Matt Floss, Foxy and Keith, Mark Mose with me first and foremost. Mose, was that the best day ever?
As a married man with a child, I'm going to tread the line very carefully here, but
Yes.
yeah, but yes. As far as a new stadium opening could have ordered for itself, that was exactly what it needed to be. A couple of goals, new signing involved, clean sheet, relatively routine home victory, and I think that the most content thought I've had after leaving the ground is, albeit beyond penalty save, that was probably as comfortable as we've looked in the last 15 minutes of a game. And for all, there'll be so much fallout about what Jack Grealish should and shouldn't have arrived here, and should we not sign him at the end of the season, which is already looking like the question. The thing that he's given us is not only the attacking intent when the game is at its crux, but when you are 1 or 2 goals ahead, he is so adept at being the man who takes the ball off any other Everton player in the side and killing that game. Notoriously by winning fouls, but it doesn't always have to be that. It can just be someone who's fairly comfortable at receiving the ball, comfortable at offloading it, good at finding intelligent positions when the game is stretched. He's already looking like the player that I kind of wish that he could be, but was unsure about whether we should pay for it. 100k a week, 130k a week, whatever it was, it's already looking like that we would be a shadow of the team that we are without him. That was again amplified today by the fact that Iliman and Dyer is going off after 65 minutes, probably not physically right at it. But all of a sudden, we've got someone else that we can rely on. And I know it's no great victory to totally rely on 2 players as opposed to 1. But at least there is that other fellow in the team who can accept the ball and semi-create something out of nothing. And don't get me wrong, things need to add in, and we need to make more additions and more changes to the side. But we look far more likeable as a team with him in it. And for everything that we try and break down technically about what being an Everton footballer is, I like our team more when he's there, and I think that's just about enough to justify him being there for me at the moment.
I don't think there's much else to add on Grealish. I mean, obviously, that is as good a home debut as you want from a player, be it a loan signing, whatever. 2 assists. He looked imperious on the ball. He kept us going forward. Great. I'm gonna throw a controversial twist onto it. I don't think he was my man of the match. I thought Dewsbury Hall, for me, absolutely ran the show today. On the ball, off the ball, was absolutely class. The work rate that he puts in, and you saw that for the full time, like the full match there. This is the first proper example of a box-to-box midfielder that Everton have had since I don't know when. I couldn't tell you the last time. Probably since Fellaini left, yeah. Like, he's a destroyer. He will break things up on the edge of our box. He's willing to carry the ball. And I think to highlight what he did today in one moment, if you look at the first goal, that is initially an underhit pass from Idrissa Gueye to Jack Grealish. Dewsbury Hall takes it into his stride with a perfect touch off the back of his heel and plays the ball in front of Grealish so that he can run onto it. And that is why that goal comes about, is because of that touch and that pass were absolutely immaculate. And I thought he was like outstanding today. And I think he's what everyone wanted Doucouré to be for Everton, in that he can play in all facets of the park in midfield. He does every single job you want a midfielder to do, and he does it effortlessly. Like, he doesn't look like he's trying too hard or anything. He's just there. He's in the right place. And I genuinely think he could be the best signing we make this summer.
I want to give some flowers to Timmy Rabunim, because I've been his
one of his biggest critics since the Leeds game, and that was like a different player today. Like he was throwing his legs at everything. It was. I hope he's not like too badly injured. I didn't really see him go down. But we had for first half especially. Like Gay was basically about there, but he wasn't at his absolute best, and he was covering so much ground, not cleaning up after him as such, but really mucking in and staking a claim really on that place in the team when we do get a fullback back fit, and Jimmy Garner like potentially goes back into that position. Jimmy Garner as well, like much better today.
Shout out to Jimmy Garner.
Kept it simple, like didn't overcommit. Did get done a couple of times, but we handled it well. But I thought them two. I mean, I don't know how the lads are going to do, scores on the doors or whatever, because you can't really pick apart between them today. Everyone was great, and it's just a nice feeling to properly bookend the last game at Goodison and the first game at Hilly Dick with a routine 2-0.
Are we settled on Hilly Dick?
Hill Dickinson Stadium.
According to Derek Minefield.
I think just kind of building on those points, difference to previous years, we know we win that game last year. The upgrade on Jacks is tremendous from last year to this year. Last year we knew what Everton were, we were solid, we were steady, we could get 0 goals against us, but we didn't score many goals. And today, although defensively we looked a bit, we probably won't talk about that too much, but attacking wise, just scoring a goal from nothing. Like, when's the last time we scored that Grealish goal was from nothing? And you know what Grealish is going to do when he gets the ball. The defender knows what Grealish is going to do under the ball. He then does the thing you know it's going to happen, whizzes it across to Ndar on the other side, and you're like, we can win games of football when we're not playing particularly well. When's the last time we won games of football without playing particularly well? Very excited, Toffee.
Yeah, it's one of those modes where, like the lads have mentioned, like a lot of players who did really well today, scored a lot of goals, but I did kind of want to just focus on Pickford for a little bit because of all the players we've had in the last 5 years who I think have been responsible for us being in that ground as a Premier League team, he is the one who has done more than anybody. And as much as he got a chant before the game, people like to talk about how he's a Maccabees Blue and all that sort of stuff. Him getting that one moment that's kind of dedicated to him, saving the penalty, it felt very, very fitting for a fella who's I think he's definitely an Everton great at this point.
We were having this debate on the way back, weren't we? In terms of since Southall, there's realistically no one who even comes close to me at the moment, and we include a couple of very good Nigel Martin seasons in that. But in terms of being arguably one of Everton's best footballers, I would comfortably rather him be on the ball than either of our centre backs at most points in the season. But we are probably in that point of his career in general now where we take him for granted. I don't hate that. I think the only reason we take him for granted is the fact that he's probably one of our better players who's had a chance to have a look at moving away. And he's probably dipped his toe in that particular pot, but there does become a feeling now that he is very much entwined with the Everton progression and his progression. As much as national media will try and dictate about who England's number one should be, and we said this on the way out to Bramley Moore, and that I would more than happily see someone step into his shoes from an England goalkeeper point of view if it meant that we could just have Jordan Pickford to ourselves. But there is certainly in those penalty situations there is very much a feeling for me that it's 50-50 about whether an opposition team scores a goal or not, and in a penalty situation that should definitely not be the case. The odds should usually be stacked very much in Brighton's favour in that situation, but he is so comfortable at being the man in a situation where personality is everything that you can almost sense the tension and the nerves from an opposition striker running up to that ball, and in the fact that Jordan Pickford is probably going to be able to guess which way he's going. His magic water bottle should live eternally. But yeah, I think the big theme of Everton in the last 2 years has been change. Everything about today was very different for all of us, very different for the players. There's a very different squad of footballers that we have to somehow attach ourselves to. But there are a few consistencies, and I think when there are so few consistencies, you very much attach yourselves to them. Seamus Coleman is obviously one that we've kind of grown into over the last few years, and Jordan Pickford is one of those as well. And again, just to echo what the lads said about some of these players who've come into the side, we've picked up a few footballers, and I think that the issue in my mind in recent years is that we've had some very good athletes, but not a lot of players who had that tact and guile on the ball to pick out some of the passes that we saw today. And ironically, Eric Boonham, who I would probably put in that kind of not necessarily a playmaker, but more of a play breaker-upper almost, was very much part of that in his ball out to Ndiaye in the first half. But there's an assurance when an Everton player gets on the ball now that he will be able to keep it, and it's not always been that way. It's always been a bit of a hard-fought task seeing Everton gradually progress their way up the pitch by hook or by crook, and I don't necessarily think it's like that anymore. I think that there's a few lads on the ball who don't necessarily want to get involved in the nitty-gritty, but when people like Dwight McNeil, Dewsbury Hall, Jack Grealish, when all of those lads get on the ball, they are at their most comfortable at that point. And I don't want to get into this massive constant flux of, do we need footballers? Do we need athletes? Do we need a defensive manager? Do we need Roberto Martinez?
You need a bit of a blend of everything.
Do. Yeah, and I think, in particular with managers, this happens all the time, doesn't it? And that you have a constant desire for what you haven't had for a few years. And it's nice to get into that position where we have got that. We've got a very polarised midfield in particular at the moment of Idrissa Gueye and Eric Boonham, who will run around all day and kick everyone and intercept balls and win the ball back for us. And then a bit of guile going forward. There's probably a middle ground for an elite midfielder to come in and fill that gap and be that connector between the two. But it all of a sudden, 5 days on from the shit show that we saw at Leeds, it feels as though we found what Everton should look like. And it's very early in the season to be saying that, but it's so reassuring, isn't it, to see an Everton side beat an accomplished Premier League side so comfortably.
That three in behind the striker today of Grealish, Dewsbury Hall, and Ndiaye.
Yeah.
Footballers, but also grafters,
yes,
and they're willing to do the nitty-gritty, they're willing to do the hard work, but on top of that, they are very talented players who can pick an opening, who can spot a pass. You saw it with the one with Grealish, where he had two fellas out on the wing marking him, and he sort of teased them and toyed with them a little bit, dragged them both in, and played that little dink pass through. Unfortunately, it was to Idrissa Gueye, who ran straight into a defender. But it was a good sort of indication of what he did. Just touching on Jordan Pickford as well. Mose is spot on in what he said. Jordan Pickford was made for Everton. Everton were made for Jordan Pickford. It's a blend that just goes really well. And what I enjoyed today as well, obviously you've got the penalty save, is the headline act. It's the other little bits that he did today. The one where he's out sharply after Tarkowski's mistake. The one where he's bobbling around and it loops up in the penalty area and he comes out and he punches it. But it wasn't a flat. He got a solid punch and it goes 30 yards away for a throw-in. And that is, I think, is a sign of the maturity of Jordan Pickford now, in that we know all the chat about, he's mistake prone, he can do this, he can do that. I think over the last couple of years, Jordan Pickford has matured into about as perfect a goalkeeper as you can get for the Premier League. His distribution today I thought was very good as well. I thought he played the ball out really nicely. There was a couple of instances today where we're still relying on the long ball to the striker's head. I think we need to move away from that, because it was indicated when you put that ball in behind the fullback, first Tierno Barry and then Beto when he came on, were having a lot more success with that than the long ball, try and control, try and hold it up. if we can sort of move away from that, even better. Should we move on to some stadium chat with Foxy?
Yeah, let's go stadium chat. So this is my first attendance at Hill Dickinson Stadium. I dropped with her today. It was just incredible. So from the outset, walking around, going down the Everton way, seeing up the Foxy Toffees, quite naturally saying we now have a permanent place in history outside that stadium, to inside the stadium. What I particularly noticed, so everyone's kind of seen the visuals and seen how it looks, and it is generally bigger on the outside than you see from the pictures. It's the sound, and I think sound on two perspectives. One is I think the PA system's too loud. I'm sure they balance it. But in the way that Goodison used to kind of get sound coming in blocks, so you get the sound coming from the Gladys, and they kind of break a bit towards the main stand, or they break a bit towards the Fulham.
So right.
But it was very much in segments. Here it's more kind of conducive and collective around the stadium. So it'll move almost organically around. So we were sat in the family stands, which you'd normally kind of associate being quite a bit. But in my mind, the south stand, the old Gladys, if you like, the noise generated there would pick up and like move around the stadium with us. So it's just an incredible stadium. And picking a bit up on the last point, the excitement of where we are now. I know we had the Leeds game, let's forget that, never happened. But where we can get to, we know we're trying to buy a few more players, Dibbling hopefully coming in this week, and then add 2 or 3 more strength from midfield. It's genuinely exciting, isn't it? You got that stadium, you got the players, you got Grealish, you got Ndiaye. That front three we had today can just create from not very much. It's just a really, really nice time to be a Toffee, with the money, with the stadium, with the players. It's going to be a great season.
I think that's one of the things most for me, in regards to the stadium itself, beforehand, when we were all a little bit nervous going in still, even at this point, obviously we've been there for the test event, so it's a bit this is all new, it's different, we're getting off the train, different place, we're walking up a lot to the ground from the pub here. But I think as soon as There She Goes hit and everyone was singing along, and I think doing that it made it feel a bit like Goodison, even though it's nothing like Goodison, but there were little bits of echoes of Goodison that kind of carried through a little bit today.
I think for me it was never ever going to feel like home until we'd scored the goal there. Regardless of, people say, it's not going to feel real until I see a last-minute winner or a derby winner or, any of these kind of generational things that occasionally happen. I just needed to see Everton score a goal. I needed to see how it felt for me and for everyone around us. And as Foxy said, I think that my big regret of the season so far is going to Roma last week, because you saw it with a full attendance and it meant nothing. And I think it felt obviously for so many reasons so much more purposeful today in terms of what Bramley Moore can possibly be at its best. But on the back of the Roma game, my major fear was that stadium is so nice, so expansive, so comfortable that a side like Brighton or a Bournemouth in good form, or any other Premier League side who are not necessarily as combative as we are, but have a little bit more tact on the ball, would come here and find it quite an easy place to play football. And within 30 seconds of scoring a goal today, I thought this must be awful for them. When I looked from the south stand down to the corner, I thought it must be a terrible place to be at the moment, knowing that 52,000 Evertonians are all kind of riding this wave of not necessarily good fortune, but a good place to be for the football club at the moment, and getting out of that trench that we've been in for so many years. And I think we're all of a sudden, within the space of 20 minutes of pre-goal and post-goal, we became a little bit horrible again. And I think we need to take a little bit of that Goodison identity to Bromley Moore. It was very much the opposite to Goodison in terms of it was all aggression, it was all emotion. And I don't necessarily think Bramley Moore has to be like that. And we've got the players now who mean that it doesn't necessarily have to be in that ilk. But I think it's important to strike a balance between bringing players like Dewsbury Hall and Grealish in, but also being Everton, being really, really difficult and in your face. And part of moving to Bramley Moor, I thought, would take that away. For me, it did against Roma, and today it absolutely didn't. And I think it was nice to see that all of these buzzwords like passion and aggression that we bring into English football, it is so needed in the 65-minute mark of the game where you're 1-0 up and you just need everyone around you to carry you through the next 10 or 15 minutes. And I thought we might lose that. And it was so reassuring from an Evertonian point of view to know that we still had so much Evertonian in us to bring into that new stadium.
Yeah, I think as a crowd today, we've really put a stamp on that place. I had the same fears after Roma because you saw it with a full crowd and it was a little bit flat. There was like a little bit of a lifeless sort of buzz about the place. Yeah. Obviously, it's a pre-season friendly, so you don't get that same sort of verve, that same sort of oomph to the crowd. I thought today there was a real snarl, there was a real swagger about the crowd. It was noisy, it was passionate, it was supportive more than anything. There was very little sort of criticism of the players. Nobody was on the players' backs. Like I said to you before we went down earlier, Matt, my metaphor for today was that there today was like the first date after a big breakup. In that it's still the same. You got to do the same thing. You still got the same routine, but you're finding it in a new place, and you've got to sort of ease yourself in. And there's a worry that it might not like work out and stuff. I think rolling on from that metaphor, there's absolutely no chance that the crowd tonight are going home alone because we were absolutely sensational, and it was everything the team needed and drove them onwards. On the stadium itself, to use a football cliche, the sound reverberates around you. It's like a rolling noise, and when that got going today, it was. I can only imagine how that translates to the players on the pitch. And all I can hope and pray now is that first Bramley Moor derby is an evening kick-off, because that place will be feral. Exactly.
Hand it over. You watch yourselves, Mansfield.
Yeah, like the group Key said about Roma, it was a bit like it was very much the pre-season friendly at home before the season kicks off. There was a lot of interesting accents and stuff, let's say, but today not like
hang
it just
on,
didn't.
Hang on. Yeah. Interesting accents.
Exactly, yeah. But like it just didn't prepare me for like when I walked out from the concourse and I was like, Jesus Christ, and the noise. I've watched the clips, like the Sky clips on the Twitter feed. For Ndai's goal, you can't hear the commentator. He's screaming, and you can't hear him. It is deafening. Surely we've got to get like some kind of decibel-ometer at pitch side. Like claim the
Stadium
world record
advantage
for loudest fans or something like that, because it will be over 110 easy. It's definite, absolutely definite. But no, I'm made up that we just got a nice day where we could, we even got a penalty save, for Christ's sake. I mean, we got every single moment that we could have wanted to really stress test those acoustics, and it was just perfect. There will be games where it's a bit flatter and stuff, but it doesn't seem like it takes much to really get it pumping. And I'm already like the upper south on the west side, a lot of chance started from over there. So already we're finding those pockets where there's, the chance. I think you were saying this when you went down last week. Like you knew certain pockets of the Lower Gladys where you knew the songs would start. So if they start singing, everyone else will. And I think already we're starting to find those areas. And yeah, that derby, it's not going to be. They're not going to give us an evening kick-off. It'll be about 9:15 in the morning. And they won't serve ale till 9.
Focus on Mansfield for now, I think. Yeah.
Focus on Mansfield.
Yeah, no, I guess the other bit with that stadium is designed for like acoustics and stuff. And I don't know when you guys walked out, if you went out back at the South Stand and singing the Pickford song, and you start bouncing off with kind of the bit just above it, and like the sound coming through. Yeah, and I'm looking forward to the first proper night game. Mansfield isn't the first proper night game there. Will be incredible. It'll be incredible. Also, the first Rihanna concert, whether that happens, will also be incredible. You can see it's designed for like multi-purpose stuff. You know, it's a great day. A great day.
We're going to wrap up here very shortly, but Mose, do you want to talk about Jack? I feel like we just talk about Jack Grealish like a bit more. Like 2 assists today, man of the match on Sky, I believe. Like it was like a bit like seeing Colour for the first time watching him play football today, wasn't it?
It was quite weird when. I think it happened one time before the actual goal, but okay, if we talk about the actual goal, when the ball got sprayed out to him from Dewsbury Hall, and you just kind of knew what was going to happen, and that he was going to attack that right fullback.
Can I disagree entirely?
Go on.
Because I thought he was going to cut on his right hand side.
He's got both in him though.
Well, that's great.
If you were a true footballsman, you would know that he's got both in him. And you know what we said at half time is that is exactly the type of goal that Everton do not score. To use a phrase I used earlier in this show itself, is that we labour ourselves up the pitch. And I think when we get to 30 or 40 yards out from goal with a winger on the ball, we quite often slow the game down. I'm instinctively thinking of someone like Dwight McNeil, but I'm even going back to Richarlison. You know, when the ball went out wide to him, the game slowed down, and we kind of thought about how we would progress the ball up to Calvert-Lewin, probably in some form of aerial way. But it doesn't necessarily have to be like that with the type of footballers that we've got now. And to see an Everton winger running down the line at a fullback, it sounds really minimalistic, but it's all we need to get us on the edge of your seat. Like you do. From a very stereotypical point of view, you do find yourself edging towards the edge of your seat when he gets on the football, because you think something actually could happen here. There's obviously the assurance of keeping the ball that we said earlier in the show, but it's the fact that we could actually move up the pitch. And Iliman Ndiaye is luckily someone who is intelligent enough not only to go on the right hand side when we need him to, but also to know that this lad is probably going to get the ball in the box. Yeah, and if Beto or Tieno Barry or whoever it is misses it, I'm going to be on the back post and nod it in. That's something that we're going to see from Everton. Hopefully over the season to come, it's going to be something we see from Jack Grealish. I like the way that Bramley Moore looks like the Etihad on the telly, which I'm all up for us winning the league via that method as well. But yeah, he's far more of a presence than I thought he would be at this point of the season. I know that there was a lot of context in terms of should we or should we not sign this footballer, but now that he is here, I think most of us were struggling to see what that was going to look like. I think there was a lot of debate after Monday night in terms of how poor we were, in terms of how reliant are we going to be on this player, in terms of not allowing him to be at his best, but actually having to force the ball upon him in every single situation. I think that's absolutely the point that we don't want to make, is that there can't be a give it to Jack mentality about how Everton get the way through games. I think there wasn't today. There was balance there, in that we could find people like Ndiaye, we could find Dwight McNeil in the second half, we could find Alcaraz and Dewsbury Hall, and Jack Grealish is always there as that left-handed outlet. And don't get me wrong, you can see the players leaning towards him in terms of wanting to use him more than any other player. But as soon as he's on the ball, any form of doubt that you had in your mind about his wages or how much he likes a bevy after winning a trophy, or
give him some more.
Yeah, absolutely. If it's what fuels the lad to run at the ball, then that's exactly what we need. So I think to have that level of directness about the side probably didn't sit well with most Evertonians inside the stadium, but he is someone who is going to have a goal impact. And I think we were talking in towards Hill Dickinson today about how many goal involvements would it take to convince you that 50 million was probably a feasible sum. And somewhere in between the 15 and 20 mark probably has the right answer within it. But
10 goals, 10 assists, sign him up.
10 goals and 10 assists, Keith, and you're all automatically talking about building a statue outside the ground. Never mind naming a stand or having some form of Grealish monument after him. But I just wanted to continue. I wanted to feel like he's an Everton player, and for so much of this season, there's going to be that thing in the back of your mind that this isn't real. And that's fine, because he's a very, very good footballer and a very good team, paid very good money for that reason. But if we can slowly start moving that scale towards the Everton end of it, then I think we're in for a treat, not only this year, but for years to come.
Yeah, I mean, we've had some very sexy players play for Everton, and now we've got a very sexy player who's very good at football.
One of them is Andy Gomez.
He was very sexy, just wasn't great at football. So having the combination of the two is a real plus point. I think football should be about entertainment, and we've not had a lot of entertainment. So to get some, again, I'll be excited. Like that front three behind the striker, and maybe we get another one in. It's just amazing. Like to be excited to watch Everton play, watch us play beautiful football. All those cliches, yay, up the toffees. What more?
There we go. We'll wrap it up there. Anyway, the Blues have won 2-0 in the first ever game competitively at Hill Dickinson Stadium. Cheers to Foxy, Keith, Mose and Matt. If you've not listened already, Dave and Les did an instant reaction in the ground, let's believe. That should be out right now. You've not listened to it already, so do go back and check that out already. I'm sure there'll be loads of high ratings on that podcast. Maybe as the season goes on, they might be a bit lower, but we will see. But yeah, what a day. The Blues have won 2-0. Just tune in. Toffees. Catch you soon.